My name is Marcus Jerome Johnson. I'm 52 years old and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I never thought my life would change so much in an instant, but it did. This morning, I woke up early, as always, at 5 sharp. I don't need an alarm clock. My body already knows when it's time to get up to care for Caleb. For 7 years now, my routine has been the same. I slide out of bed without making a sound so I don't wake Tiffany, my wife. I prepare breakfast, and then go to my son's room to help him wash up, get dressed, and start the day. "Good morning, my son," I say as I open the blinds. "How did you sleep today?" Caleb, who just turned 18, looks up at me from his adapted bed. His face always reflects a mix of resignation and love that breaks my heart. "Fine, Pop. Though my back hurts a little," he replies in a sleepy voice. "I'll help you do the exercises, doctor. Hayes recommended in a little bit," I tell him while getting his things ready for his bath. It wasn't easy installing everything Caleb needed after the accident. We had to adapt the bathroom, put up support bars, get a special shower chair, and buy a hospital bed. Everything changed that day, 7 years ago, when he fell down the school stairs. He was only 11 years old. The doctor said the injury to his spine affected his mobility from the waist down. He wasn't completely paralyzed, but his legs lost almost all their strength and feeling. "Pop," he says as I help him sit up, "can we go to the park today after therapy?" "Of course, son. If Dr. Sterling gives us the green light after the checkup, we'll head straight over there." As I help him with his morning bath, I remember the life I had to leave behind. My auto repair shop was my pride. Johnson's Garage read the sign I painted with my own 2 hands. 20 years of hard work, loyal customers, and the satisfaction of fixing any engine that came in, no matter how damaged. But when Caleb had his accident, I didn't think twice. I sold the shop to my best friend, Jared, and dedicated myself completely to taking care of my son. "Pop, can you hand me the towel?" Caleb's voice pulls me out of my thoughts. "Sorry, son. I was distracted," I say, handing him the towel. After dressing him, I wheel him into the dining room. Tiffany is already awake brewing coffee. Since I stopped working, she's taken on the family's financial burden. She got a good position as an administrator at an export company, and thanks to that, we can pay for Caleb's therapies and medications. "Morning," she says without turning around to look at us. "Breakfast is almost ready." "Morning, Ma," Caleb responds enthusiastically. "We're going to see Dr. Sterling today for the quarterly checkup." I notice Tiffany tenses slightly when she hears this. It's barely perceptible, but after 23 years of marriage, I know every one of her expressions. "It's today?" she asks while pouring the coffee. "I thought it was next week." "No, it's today," I reply. "I marked it on the kitchen calendar." Tiffany looks at the calendar and nods with a gesture I can't decipher. "I have an important meeting today, so I won't be able to go with you," she says, placing plates of scrambled eggs in front of us. "Don't worry, I've got it," I tell her. It's not the first time we've gone alone. Breakfast passes in a strange silence. Tiffany constantly checks her phone, something that annoys me, but which I've learned to tolerate. "It's for work," she always says when I mention it. "What time will you be back?" she asks suddenly. "I don't know exactly. After the appointment, I want to take Caleb to the park if the doctor authorizes it." Again, I notice that tense expression on her face. "I don't think that's a good idea," she says curtly. "You know, Caleb needs to rest after his checkups." "But Ma, I feel fine," Caleb intervenes. "And I haven't been anywhere but the hospital or therapy in forever." "I said no," she replies, raising her voice. "Do you want to risk your health for a whim?" I look at Caleb and see the disappointment in his eyes. It hurts to see him like this. "Tiffany, there's no need to talk to him like that," I say in a low voice. "Doctor, Hayes said last week that Caleb is progressing and a little fresh air would do him good." "And since when do you know more than I do about what's best for our son?" She snaps back, her tone biting. "Are you the one paying for his medicine or his therapy?" Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. It's true that she's the one financially supporting the house now, but I dedicate every minute of my life to caring for Caleb. I swallow my pride as I've done so many times in recent years, because I don't want to argue in front of my son. "All right," I finally say. "We'll come straight home after the appointment." Tiffany smiles with satisfaction, stands up, grabs her purse, and goes over to Caleb. She kisses him on the forehead. "It's for your own good, my love," she says with a sweetness that contrasts with her previous attitude. "I promise I'll take you wherever you want this weekend." "Okay, Ma," Caleb replies, resigned. Before leaving, Tiffany hands me an envelope. "Dr. Sterling always asks for the printed test results," she says. "Don't lose them like last time." "I didn't lose them," I reply. "The nurse kept them." Tiffany makes a dismissive gesture and walks out the door. I hear her car engine drive away. "Pop," Caleb says, when we're alone, "why is Mom always so tense?" "It's the work, son," I reply, although even I'm not convinced. She's under a lot of pressure. I finish washing the dishes and get everything ready to go. The hospital is about a 20-minute drive. I help Caleb into the car and stow his wheelchair in the trunk. On the way, I try to cheer him up. If everything goes well with the doctor, we can go to the park this weekend. "How about that?" "Really, Pop?" His eyes light up. "And Mom will let us." "I'll take care of convincing her," I assure him, though I'm not sure how I'll do it. When we arrive at the hospital, we are greeted by Dr. Olivia, Dr. Sterling's assistant. She's a young woman in her mid-30s with a kind smile that always puts Caleb at ease. "Good morning, Mr. Johnson." "Caleb," she greets us. "Dr. Sterling had an emergency and won't be able to see you today." "Seriously?" I reply, surprised. "Will we have to make another appointment?" "No, don't worry," she says. "Dr. Eric Mendez, who recently joined the hospital, will see you. He specializes in spinal injuries like Caleb's. I don't feel comfortable with the sudden change, but we have no choice." Dr. Olivia guides us to a different office than the one we usually visit. Dr. Mendez, a man about 50, serious, but with a kind look in his eyes, is waiting for us there. "Pleased to meet you, Mr. Johnson." "Caleb," he says, shaking our hands. "I'm Dr. Eric Mendez. I'll be covering for Dr. Sterling today." "The pleasure is ours, Doctor," I reply, though I'm still uneasy about the change. "All right, let's see," he says while reviewing a file. "Caleb Johnson, 18 years old. Spinal injury from a fall 7 years ago. Continuous treatment with Dr. Sterling since then." "That's right," I confirm. "He's had slow but steady progress." Dr. Mendez nods and approaches Caleb. "Do you mind if I run some tests, Caleb?" he asks in a professional but gentle tone. "No, doctor," my son replies. For the next half hour, I watch Dr. Mendez perform various tests on Caleb. Some are similar to those Dr. Sterling does regularly, but others are completely new. I notice something strange in the doctor's expression as he examines my son, especially when he tests the sensitivity in his legs. "Mr. Johnson," he finally says, "did you bring the results of the latest blood work and x-rays?" "Yes, doctor," I reply, handing him the envelope Tiffany gave me this morning. Dr. Mendez carefully reviews the documents. His expression becomes increasingly serious, even worried. He looks back and forth between the papers and Caleb. Then he looks at me. "Mr. Johnson, would you mind if I speak with your son alone for a moment?" he asks in a professional tone. "Is there a problem, doctor?" I ask, alarmed. "No, it's not that," he quickly replies. "It's part of the protocol with adolescent patients. We give them space so they can express any concerns they might not want to share in front of their parents." Although it seems strange to me, I agree and step out into the hallway. I wait about 10 minutes, restless, wondering what the doctor is talking about with my son. When they finally call me back in, I notice Caleb has a confused, almost scared expression. "Everything all right, son?" I ask him. "Yeah, Pop," he replies, but his voice sounds uncertain. Dr. Mendez asked me to sit down. "Mr. Johnson," he says in a serious tone, "I need to ask you some questions about Caleb's accident and subsequent treatment." "Of course, doctor," I reply, growing increasingly uneasy. "According to the file, Caleb fell down the stairs at his school 7 years ago. Is that correct?" "Yes, doctor. I was at my garage when they called me. By the time I arrived, they had already taken him to the hospital. Dr. Sterling was the one who treated him from the beginning. And did you see the original results of the X-rays and MRIs? Yes. Well, Sterling explained them to us. I don't understand much about those things, but I trusted his diagnosis. Doctor. Mendez nods slowly, processing the information. And your wife, was she also present during those explanations? Yes, we always went to the important appointments together, although lately she's been very busy with her work. The doctor reviews the documents I gave him again, then gets up, goes to a light box on the wall, and places an X-ray on it. Mr. Johnson, have you ever noticed anything unusual in your son's behavior? Any movement that doesn't align with the diagnosis? I don't understand your question, doctor, I reply, starting to feel truly alarmed. Doctor, Mendez looks at me intently, as if doubting what he's about to say next. Finally, he leans closer to me and lowers his voice. Mr. Johnson, I need you to stay calm about what I'm about to tell you. His words freeze my blood. There are serious inconsistencies in your son's medical file. What do you mean? I ask, feeling breathless. The doctor looks towards Caleb, who is watching us with an anguished expression, and then back at me. He leans in even closer and says almost in a whisper, "Don't sleep at your house tonight. Call the police." His words hit me like a lightning bolt. I feel the world stop around me. I don't understand what's happening, but fear takes hold of me. What? Is all I manage to articulate. I can't explain more right now, he continues to whisper. There are cameras here. I need to run more tests, review earlier records, but something isn't right, Mr. Johnson. Something isn't right with your son's diagnosis. I remain paralyzed, not knowing what to say or do. Doctor. Mendez backs away, regains his professional tone, and says aloud, I'm going to prescribe some pain relievers for Caleb's back pain, and I'd like to see him again next week for a follow-up. He hands me a prescription and a card. My personal number is on the back, he says quietly as he shakes my hand goodbye. Call me when you're somewhere safe. We leave the office with Caleb. My son looks at me confused. What did the doctor say? Pop, you look pale. Nothing important, son. I manage to reply, though I feel like my entire world is collapsing. Let's go home. The whole drive back. Doctor, Mendez's words echo in my head. Don't sleep at your house tonight. Call the police. What does that mean? Why would he say something like that? I look at Caleb in the rearview mirror. He's looking out at the window, oblivious to the storm that has erupted inside me. Pop, are you okay? He asks suddenly. You're very quiet. Yes, son. I'm just thinking about what the doctor said, I reply, trying to make my voice sound normal. About my new medicine? Yes, that's right. I don't want to worry him, but I also don't know what's going on. I need time to think, to understand Dr. Mendez's words, but above all, I need to protect Caleb. When we get home, I notice Tiffany's car isn't there. I'm surprised, as she usually doesn't get home from work until 7 at night, and it's only 2:00 the afternoon. I help Caleb out of the car, and we go inside. Everything seems normal, but the doctor's words have changed my perspective. Now I look at my home with suspicious eyes, searching for something, though I don't know exactly what. What would you like to eat, son? I ask him, as I settle him onto the living room sofa. Whatever. Pop is fine, but I'm sleepier than hungry. I think the medicine Dr. Mendez gave me is making me drowsy. I get a little alarmed. The doctor didn't mention the medication would cause drowsiness. Did you take something at the hospital? Yes. The nurse gave me a pill when you were talking to the doctor. This strikes me as odd. I don't recall any nurse giving Caleb medication, but before I can ask more, I hear someone putting a key in the lock. It's Tiffany. You're home early, she says when she sees us. Her tone something I can't quite decipher. Surprise or annoyance. Yes. There weren't many people at the hospital today, I reply, watching her closely. So, how did it go? She asks, as she puts her purse down on the table. Fine, I reply, giving no details. Doctor, Sterling wasn't there, but another doctor saw us. Tiffany stops for a second, almost imperceptibly, but I notice it. Another doctor. Who? A doctor. Mendez. He said he just started at the hospital. Tiffany nods slowly. And what did he say? The usual. That Caleb is progressing slowly. He prescribed some new pain relievers for his back pain. I decide not to mention the doctor's disturbing words. Something tells me I need to be cautious. "That's good," she says, visibly more relaxed. "And you, my love." She turns to Caleb. "How are you feeling?" "Tired, Ma. I think I'm going to sleep for a bit." "Of course, my angel," she says with a sweetness that now seems excessive. "Get some rest." I help Caleb to his room. When I return to the living room, Tiffany is speaking on the phone in a low voice. When she sees me, she quickly hangs up. "Who was that?" I ask. "Work," she replies curtly. "Have you eaten?" "No. I was about to fix something." "I'll do it," she says. "You must be tired too." Her sudden kindness disconcerts me. Normally, after a day of work, she's the one who expects me to prepare the meal. While Tiffany cooks, I sit on the sofa pretending to watch TV, but my mind is racing. Dr. Mendez's words, Tiffany's strange behavior, the medicine Caleb supposedly took at the hospital. Everything spins in my head. My phone vibrates. It's a message from a number I don't recognize. "I'm Dr. Mendez. Are you alone to talk?" I look toward the kitchen. Tiffany is busy. I reply quickly, "No, my wife is home." Almost immediately, I get another message. "I understand. Call me when you can speak privately. It's urgent." I put the phone away just as Tiffany comes out of the kitchen. "Who was that?" she asks. "Nobody important," I reply. "A message from the phone company." We eat in uncomfortable silence. Tiffany tries to maintain a casual conversation, asking me about trivial things, but I can barely concentrate on answering. My mind is elsewhere. "Is something wrong?" she finally asks. "You're very quiet." "I'm just tired." I lie. "It's been a long day. Why don't you go rest, too?" she suggests. "I'll do the dishes." Her insistence that I rest makes me increasingly suspicious, but I agree. I need a moment alone to think. In our bedroom, I close the door and take out my phone. I hesitate to call Dr. Mendez in case Tiffany hears me. So, I decide to send another message. "Can you explain what's going on?" The answer arrives quickly. "I found serious discrepancies in your son's medical reports. The x-rays you delivered today do not match Caleb's symptoms. I need you to come to the hospital tomorrow, but not with your wife. Bring Caleb, and for your safety, seriously. Consider what I told you before." My heart pounds. What is he suggesting? That the x-rays are fake? That Tiffany is involved in something shady? It seems impossible, but the doubts begin to grow inside me. I decide to do a little investigating. I leave the room silently and head to Tiffany's study. I know she keeps important documents in a locked filing cabinet, but I also know she hides the key in the third drawer of her desk under some papers. The house is silent. Caleb must still be sleeping, and I hear Tiffany in the kitchen washing dishes. I enter the study and close the door without making a sound. I quickly find the key and open the filing cabinet. There are folders organized by topic: house, work, bank, Caleb. I take the last one. Inside are a series of medical reports, all signed by Dr. Sefant Sterling. I quickly review them, looking for something that catches my eye. But I don't understand the medical jargon. What I do notice is that there are monthly reports, all identical in format, with only a few numbers and values changed. At the bottom of the folder, I find something unusual: receipts for wire transfers made out to Dr. Sterling. But they aren't payments for medical appointments. They are large sums deposited regularly, and they don't match the dates of our hospital visits. My mind starts to put the pieces together, but I resist believing what I'm thinking. Tiffany bribing a doctor. Why? Nothing makes sense. I hear approaching footsteps. I quickly put everything back in its place. I close the filing cabinet and put the key back where it was. I sit at the desk and pretend to review some bills that are on the table just as Tiffany opens the door. "What are you doing in here?" she asks suspiciously. "I was looking for Caleb's health insurance receipts." I reply without looking at her. "I want to verify exactly what they cover." "I take care of that," she says, approaching. "You don't have to worry about it." "I know, but I'd like to understand better how it works. After all, I'm the one who takes Caleb to all his appointments." Tiffany stares at me, as if evaluating me. "They're in the blue folder in the filing cabinet," she finally says me, "but it's locked and I can't find the key." She's testing me. She knows exactly where the key is. I see. I respond calmly. Well, never mind. You can explain it to me. Then I stand up and head for the door. Why the sudden interest? She asks before I leave. You've never cared about the paperwork before. It's not sudden. I lie. I've always been interested, but I trusted you to handle it. Now that Caleb is improving, I want to be more involved in all aspects. Improving? Her tone changes completely. What exactly did that doctor tell you? Just that the exercises are working and Caleb is showing signs of greater feeling in his legs. Tiffany seems to relax a bit. Oh yes, doctor. Sterling mentioned that last time too. But you know the process is very slow, right? We shouldn't get our hopes up too high. Of course, I know. I leave the study and go to check on Caleb. He's still asleep. I sit beside him and watch him. He looks so peaceful, so vulnerable. Is it possible that all these years? No. I don't even want to think about it. But the doubts have been sown. I decide I need to talk to Dr. Mendez as soon as possible. But I can't leave Caleb alone with Tiffany. Not after what I saw in those documents. I send the doctor another message. Can we meet tonight? It's urgent. The response arrives almost immediately. I'm on call. Come to the emergency room at 10 p.m. Ask for me now. I need to find an excuse to go out tonight without raising suspicion. I return to the living room where Tiffany is watching TV. I'm worried about the car, I say, sitting next to her. It's making a strange noise in the engine. I think I'll take it to Jared's garage tonight. Tonight? She asks, surprised. Can it wait until tomorrow? I'd rather take it now. Tomorrow? We have to go back to the hospital for Caleb's blood work. Remember? Tiffany looks at me suspiciously but nods. Fine, but don't be out too late. At 9:30, I leave the house with the excuse of going to the garage. Instead, I drive to the hospital. My mind doesn't stop swirling with everything that is happening. Is it possible that Tiffany, the mother of my son, the woman I've shared over 20 years of my life with, is deceiving me in some way? And what does Caleb have to do with all this? I arrive at the hospital and ask for Dr. Mendez in the emergency room. The nurse tells me to wait in a small consultation room. A few minutes later, Dr. Mendez enters, closing the door behind him. Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming, he says, shaking my hand. We don't have much time, so I'll get straight to the point. He pulls out a folder and opens it on the table. These are the X-rays and MRIs your wife delivered to me through you today. He points to one set of images. And these are the ones I just retrieved from the hospital's old files. He places both sets of images side by side. Even with my medical ignorance, I can see they are different. These, he points to the first set, show a severe spinal cord injury at the L3-L4 level, with compression of the spinal cord. This type of injury would explain Caleb's partial paralysis. Then he points to the second set. But these, which are the originals taken when Caleb was admitted 7 years ago, show only a mild sprain and a bruise. Nothing that justifies paralysis of any kind. I stare at the images, unable to process what I'm seeing. What does this mean? I finally manage to ask. Doctor? Mendez looks at me gravely. It means, Mr. Johnson, that someone has been falsifying your son's medical reports for years. Someone with access to the hospital system and enough medical knowledge to maintain the charade. Doctor, Sterling is a possibility, but he would need the complicity of someone else. Someone close to Caleb who could maintain this situation at home. He doesn't say Tiffany's name, but we both know who he's referring to. But why? I ask, feeling the world crumble around me. Why would they do something like that? That's what we need to discover, the doctor replies. But the most important thing now is to confirm Caleb's real condition. I need to examine him again without his wife present, and I need to run tests that Dr. Sterling apparently never did, or if he did, he hid the results. Are you saying my son might not actually be paralyzed? The question leaves my mouth almost as a whisper. It's a possibility we can't rule out, the doctor replies cautiously. The tests I ran today showed normal reflexes in his legs, something incompatible with the type of injury described in these falsified reports. Moreover, when I spoke with Caleb alone, I noticed a certain reluctance to talk about his condition, as if he were scared. His words hit me like a hammer. Caleb, faking it. No, My son wouldn't do something like that. But then, what is happening, doctor? I say, trying to stay calm. Are you suggesting that my wife and Dr. Sterling have been deceiving Caleb and me all these years? That my son doesn't really need a wheelchair? That he could walk? I'm not confirming anything for certain yet, he replies cautiously. I'm just showing you evidence of serious irregularities. But yes, that is a possibility we must consider. And if so, it is a very serious case of medical abuse. I run my hands over my face, trying to assimilate what I'm hearing. What should I do? And I finally ask, for now, act normal, he replies. Don't confront your wife yet. We need more evidence. Tomorrow, bring Caleb to the hospital. Say, it's for the blood work you mentioned. I will arrange for those to be done, but I will also run additional tests. And in the meantime, he pulls a small recorder from his pocket. I recommend you use this. Record any suspicious conversation with your wife or with Caleb when you are alone. We need to understand what's really going on. I take the recorder with trembling hands, and for your safety, he adds, I insist on my recommendation. Don't sleep at your house tonight. Do you have anywhere you and Caleb can stay? I think of my sister Aisha, who lives on the other side of town. Yes, I could go to my sister's house. Good. Invent some excuse and leave tonight with Caleb. Don't tell anyone where you are going, not even your sister. Just say you need to stay for one night. Do you think we are in danger? I ask, feeling a chill. I don't know for sure, Mr. Johnson, he replies honestly. But if what I suspect is true, we are talking about people capable of keeping a child unnecessarily in a wheelchair for 7 years. I don't know how far they might go to maintain their secret. His words chill me to the bone. I nod, putting the recorder in my pocket. One more thing, the doctor says before I leave. Check your house. Look for anything unusual, any document, any evidence that might explain why someone would do something like this. I will, I promise. I leave the hospital with my mind in chaos. How is it possible that my life, which I thought was built on solid foundations, is falling apart like this? How could I not have noticed that something was wrong all these years? But as I drive back home, a spark of hope ignites in my heart. If all this is true, if Caleb isn't really paralyzed, it means he could recover a normal life. He could walk, run, and play like any other young man his age. The possibility excites and terrifies me at the same time. What I can't understand is why. Why would Tiffany, his mother, do something like that? What could she gain by keeping our son unnecessarily in a wheelchair? Nothing makes sense. When I get home, I see that the lights in Tiffany's study are on. She's probably working as she often does in the evenings. I enter silently and head straight for Caleb's room. He's awake reading a book. Pop, where were you? He asks me. Ma said you went to the garage. Yeah, but I had to stop by another place first, I reply, sitting on the edge of his bed. Hey, son, would you like to spend the night at your Aunt Aisha's house? His eyes light up. Seriously, I haven't seen Aunt Aisha in ages. Can we go now? Yes, but we have to be quiet. Your mom is working and I don't want to bother her with this. I'll let her know by text when we get there. I help Caleb get dressed and pack a small bag with what he needs for one night. While I'm doing this, I activate the recorder in my pocket. Caleb, I say in a low voice, can I ask you something? Sure, Pop. How did you feel with Dr. Mendez today? What did you think of him? Caleb shifts his gaze. Fine, he's nice. What did you talk about when I left the office? I notice he tenses up. Nothing important. He asked me about school, my friends, things like that. Just that, I gently insist. Caleb hesitates. He also asked me if I had ever tried to stand up without help, and if I ever felt like I could move my legs more than the doctors said. My heart races. And what did you tell him? The truth, he says in a voice so low I can barely hear it. That sometimes when I'm alone, I feel like I could try. But Ma says I should never try because I could hurt my spine more. The revelation leaves me breathless. I try to keep my expression neutral, but inside I'm screaming. Everything Dr. Mendez suspected seems to be true. And have you ever told Dr. Sterling about that? I ask, controlling my voice. Yes, once, he replies. But he told Ma, and she got really sad. She said I was confusing wishes with reality, that my mind was tricking me, and that if I kept saying those things, you would be disappointed in me. I feel something break inside my chest. My own son has been suffering in silence, believing that I would be disappointed in him for wanting to walk. Caleb, look at me, I say, taking his face between my hands. Never ever would I be disappointed in you for wanting to get better, for wanting to walk. On the contrary, you would make me the happiest man in the world. His eyes fill with tears. Really, Pop? Really, son? I reply, hugging him tightly. And I promise we're going to find out the truth together. Getting out of the house without Tiffany noticing us turns out to be easier than I thought. She's still locked in her study, probably on the phone, because I can hear the murmur of her voice through the door. I help Caleb into the car and put the wheelchair in the trunk. Aren't we going to say goodbye to Ma? Caleb asks. She's very busy with work, I reply. I'll send her a text when we get to Aunt Aisha's. As I drive, my mind reviews the day's events. Everything feels like a nightmare, but the evidence is becoming clearer and clearer. In the back seat, Caleb seems unusually quiet. What are you thinking about, son? I ask him, looking at him in the rear-view mirror. About what you told me before? He replies after a moment, about how you wouldn't be disappointed if I could walk. His voice trembles slightly, and I feel a mix of pain and rage, thinking about what they've made my son believe. Caleb, I say firmly, I want you to know something. I love you exactly as you are. If you could walk tomorrow, I would still love you the same. If you could never do it, I would still love you the same. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, you can do that would change that. I see him smile shyly in the mirror. Thank you, Pop. We arrive at my sister Aisha's house shortly after. She lives in a small apartment in the West End neighborhood. I haven't visited her in several months, and I feel guilty for showing up like this without warning, but I trust she'll understand. Marcus, Caleb, she exclaims, surprised as she opens the door for us. What are y'all doing here this late? We need to ask you a favor, Aisha, I say as I help Caleb inside with his chair. Can we stay here tonight? Aisha immediately notices something is wrong. She's always been perceptive. Of course, she replies, without hesitation. Is everything all right? Where's Tiffany? I'll explain later, I say, looking pointedly towards Caleb. For now, we just need to rest. My sister takes the hint and doesn't press. She's always been like that, discreet and understanding. She helps us settle into her small guest room. Caleb can take the bed, she says. Marcus, I'll put the Bubba bed in the living room for you. Once Caleb is comfortable and half asleep, I go out to the living room with Aisha. She's waiting for me with 2 mugs of coffee. Now what? She says in a low voice. What is going on? I hesitate for a moment. I don't know how much I should tell her. If my suspicions are wrong, I could be planting terrible doubts about Tiffany. But I need to trust someone, and Aisha has always been my rock. I can't give you all the details right now, I finally tell her. But there's something strange going on with Caleb's medical condition. A new doctor today found irregularities in his files and recommended I leave the house for tonight. Aisha stares at me, her eyes wide. Irregularities? What kind of irregularities? I'm not sure yet. I lie partially. I'm taking Caleb for more tests tomorrow. But for now, I need you to do me a favor. Don't tell anyone we're here. Not even Mom. And if Tiffany calls asking for us, tell her you haven't heard anything. Marcus, you're scaring me. Aisha says, Do you think Tiffany? I don't know what to believe yet. I interrupt her. I just know I need to protect Caleb until I understand what's going on. My sister nods slowly. You know you can count on me for anything, she says, taking my hand. I always know, Aisha. Thank you. I'm about to say something else when my phone starts vibrating. It's Tiffany. Aisha looks at me with concern. I take a deep breath and answer. Where are you? Tiffany asks without greeting me. Her voice tense. We went to Aisha's house, I reply calmly. Caleb wanted to see her. And since we have to go to the hospital early tomorrow, I thought it would be a good idea to stay here overnight. And you didn't think to tell me. Her tone is cold, controlled, but I can feel the fury underneath. I left you a note in the kitchen. I lie. I didn't want to interrupt you while you were working. There was no note, she retorts. I'm coming over there to get you both. That's not necessary, I say quickly. It's late now and Caleb is almost asleep. We'll be back tomorrow after the hospital. There is silence on the other end of the line. Marcus, she finally says in a tone I've never heard before, almost threatening, what exactly did that doctor tell you today? A chill runs down my spine. I already told you. Nothing special, just that Caleb is progressing. Are you sure he didn't say anything else? She insists. Sure. Why are you asking? Another silence. For nothing, she replies. I was just worried he might have said something to make you act so impulsively. There's nothing impulsive about visiting my sister, I reply, trying to keep my voice casual. I did it all the time before Caleb's accident. Fine, she finally says, but I want both of you home early tomorrow, and I want to go with you to the hospital. Sure, I lie again. I'll call you when we're finished. I hang up and look at Aisha, who has heard the entire conversation. I've never heard her like that, she comments. So controlling. Me neither, I reply, although I've actually been noticing similar small details for years that I always justified. I can barely sleep that night. When I finally manage to drift off, I have nightmares where Caleb is standing running towards me and Tiffany is chasing him with a wheelchair. The next morning, we eat breakfast early. Aisha has prepared grits and eggs, Caleb's favorite dish. I watch him eat enthusiastically and wonder how many other things he's been denied all these years. Auntie Aisha, can I ask you a favor? Caleb says suddenly. Of course, baby. Anything you want? Could you lend me some exercise pants? Mine are really old, and I don't like them. Aisha looks at me confused. Caleb, you know I don't have clothes your size. She replies kindly. It doesn't matter if they're big, he says, looking at me as if seeking approval. I want to try something today. I immediately understand what my son is thinking, and I feel a mix of pride and fear. He's taking the initiative to test his limits, to challenge what they've made him believe for years. Sure, son, I tell him. I'm sure your aunt has something that can work. Aisha, not fully understanding, but sensing that it's important, goes to her room and comes back with a pair of athletic pants. They're a little worn, but they're comfortable, she says, handing them to Caleb. Thanks, Auntie, he replies with a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. When it's time to go to the hospital, I help Caleb into the car. But before stowing the wheelchair, I pause. Do you want to try going without it today? I ask him in a low voice. His eyes widen with a mixture of fear and hope. Can I? We can try, I reply. I'll help you. If you get tired, or it hurts, we have the chair in the trunk. Caleb nods, taking a deep breath. I want to try, Pop. Carefully, I help him get out of the car and support him as he tries to stand. His legs tremble, but he manages to hold himself up. We take a few small steps. It's clear that his muscles are weak from lack of use, but there are no signs of the type of paralysis he should have, according to his supposed diagnosis. You're doing great, son, I tell him, fighting back tears. It feels strange, he says, but good, like my legs remember something I forgot. We move slowly toward the hospital entrance. Every step is a small triumph. Some patients and nurses look at us curiously, but no one says anything. At the reception, I ask for Dr. Mendez. The receptionist directs us to consultation, room 5. When we enter, his expression upon seeing Caleb walking with my help is one of both astonishment and confirmation. Good morning, he greets us, closing the door behind us. I see you've decided to try something new today. It was Caleb's idea, I reply proudly. Dr. Mendez smiles at Caleb. That's very brave of you, he says. How do you feel? Tired, Caleb admits. But good. It doesn't hurt. That's excellent, the doctor replies. I'd like to run some tests today, if you agree. Different tests than the ones you've had before. Caleb looks at me, seeking my approval. I nod. It's fine, doctor. He finally says. For the next hour, I watch Dr. Mendez perform various tests on Caleb, reflexes, sensation, muscle strength. He helps him walk a few feet, bend his knees, and move his feet in different directions. Everything that, according to previous diagnosis, should be impossible for someone with his supposed injury. Mr. Johnson, can we talk privately for a moment? The doctor says when he finishes the tests. Caleb, would you mind waiting here? You can rest on the examination table. We step out into the hallway. Doctor Mendez has a serious, but determined expression. "There is no doubt, Mr. Johnson," he says in a low voice. "Your son does not have a spinal cord injury that justifies the use of a wheelchair. His legs are weak from lack of use, and he will need intensive physical therapy. But neurologically, everything is working correctly." Although I already suspected it, hearing it confirmed by a doctor hits me hard. "Are you completely sure?" I ask, needing to hear it again. "Absolutely. I have reviewed all the original exams I found in the archives. The fall Caleb suffered 7 years ago caused him bruises and a mild sprain, but nothing that affected his spinal cord. The subsequent reports, the ones that have been the basis of his treatment all these years, are clearly falsified." I lean against the wall, feeling my legs might give way. "Why?" is all I manage to ask. "Why would someone do something like this?" "That's what we need to find out," the doctor replies. "But first, I must ask you, did you find anything at your house last night?" "I didn't get a chance to search further," I reply. "We left right after talking to you, but before coming to the hospital, I found receipts for wire transfers made out to Dr. Sterling and Tiffany's filing cabinet. Large sums that don't correspond to medical appointments." Dr. Mendez nods. "That confirms my suspicion of bribery, but it still doesn't explain the motive." "What do we do now?" I ask. "I have contacted a colleague who works with the police department, Detective Reynolds," he says. "He specializes in cases of negligence and medical abuse. He will be here this afternoon to speak with you. In the meantime, I suggest Caleb stay here to start physical therapy. We have an excellent rehabilitation team." "And what about me?" I ask. "Should I go back home, face Tiffany?" Dr. Mendez thinks for a moment. "No, not yet. It would be dangerous without concrete evidence. Detective Reynolds will want to investigate your house, but he'll need a warrant. What you could do is return when you know Tiffany is not there and look for more evidence. Any document, any evidence that explains why they've maintained this charade for so many years." I nod. The idea of sneaking into my own house feels strange, but I understand it's necessary. "And what do I tell Caleb?" I ask. "The truth. I think he deserves to know it, at least part of it." The doctor replies, "Tell him the exams show his condition isn't as serious as previously thought, and that with therapy, he'll be able to regain mobility. It's not necessary for him to know about the falsification or his mother's possible involvement yet. That would be too traumatic for now." We return to the consultation room. Caleb looks at us expectantly. "I have good news, son," I say, sitting next to him. "Dr. Mendez has reviewed your exams and says your spine is much better than we thought. With therapy, you'll be able to walk normally again." His face lights up with a joy that breaks my heart. 7 years. 7 years were stolen from his normal life. "Really?" he asks, looking back and forth between the doctor and me. "You're not just telling me this to make me feel better. It's the truth, Caleb." Dr. Mendez confirms. "Your legs are weak from lack of use, but with intensive therapy, you can make a full recovery." Caleb begins to cry silently at first, and then with sobs that shake his whole body. I hug him tightly. "Everything is going to be okay, my son," I whisper. "I promise you." When he calms down a bit, Dr. Mendez explains the plan of staying at the hospital for a few days to begin intensive therapy. He assures him that I'll be able to visit every day. "And Mom?" Caleb asks. Dr. Mendez looks at me, letting me answer. "Your mom is very busy with work," I say, hating myself for continuing to lie, but knowing it's necessary for now. "I'll explain everything to her, and I'm sure she'll come to see you soon." Caleb nods, although I notice a certain doubt in his eyes. After leaving Caleb with the physical therapist, Dr. Mendez takes me to his office to talk in more privacy. "Your wife must have noticed you didn't go home by now," he says. "Has she called?" I check my phone. There are 5 missed calls and several messages from Tiffany. "Yes," I reply, "but I haven't answered." "Good. Stay away for now. When Detective Reynolds arrives, we'll decide how to proceed." I nod, but one question keeps going through my head. "Doctor, there's something I don't understand. If all this is true, if they've been deceiving us all these years, how did they get Caleb to cooperate? I mean, he must know if he can move his legs or not." Dr. Mendez sighs. In cases like this, psychological manipulation is very powerful, especially when it begins at an early age. If an 1-year-old child is constantly told that he is gravely ill, that any feeling of improvement is just his imagination, that trying to walk could cause him permanent damage, he will eventually believe it. And if they also make him fear disappointing his father, as seems to be the case, he doesn't need to finish the sentence. I understand perfectly what he means, and I feel sick thinking about the psychological damage they've caused my son. Do you think he'll be able to recover? I ask, not just physically, but mentally. Yes, with the right support. The doctor completes. Caleb is young and has already shown incredible strength. The simple fact that he wanted to try walking today shows that deep down, he always knew the truth. His words give me some comfort. My phone rings again. It's Aisha. I must answer. I tell the doctor. It's my sister. Go ahead, Aisha. I answer. Marcus, Tiffany is here, my sister says, her voice tense and low, as if she were speaking where she couldn't be heard. She's asking for you and Caleb. I told her you left early and I didn't know where to. She doesn't believe me. Are you alone? I ask. No, Aisha replies. There's a man with her. He says he's Dr. Sterling, but I don't like the way he's looking at me. Marcus, I'm scared. I feel the blood freeze in my veins. Listen to me closely, Aisha. I say with all the calmness I can muster, get out of there. Tell them you have an appointment or something urgent. Go to Mom's house and stay there until I call you. What is happening, Marcus? Her voice asks, trembling. I'll explain everything, I promise. But right now, I need you to trust me and do exactly what I tell you. Okay, she says after a moment. I love you, brother. I love you too, Aisha. Be careful. I hang up and look at Dr. Mendez. Dr. Sterling is with my wife at my sister's house looking for us, I tell him. This is getting complicated. I'll call Detective Reynolds, he says, grabbing his phone. We need to speed things up. While the doctor makes the call, I approach the window and look toward the parking lot. Among the vehicles, I think I see Tiffany's car. A chill runs down my spine. Doctor, I interrupt his call. I think my wife is here. Are you sure? Doctor, Mendez asks quickly, approaching the window. That blue car, the Nissan, I point. It's Tiffany's. The doctor observes for a moment and then acts decisively. Come on. We have to get Caleb out of here, he says, grabbing his phone. I'll tell security not to allow access to anyone asking for you. We hurry toward the physical therapy area where we left Caleb. We find him working with the therapist, trying to stand up, supported by the parallel bars. Seeing my son striving to recover what was taken from him fills me with a mixture of pride and rage. Is something wrong, Pop? Caleb asks, noticing our expressions. We need to change your room, son, I explain, trying to stay calm, just as a precaution. Doctor? Mendez speaks quickly with the therapist, who nods and helps Caleb sit down in a wheelchair. This time it's just a temporary measure to move him more quickly. I'll take them to the oncology wing. The doctor says no one will look for them there. As we move through the hallways, my phone vibrates again. It's a message from Aisha. Tiffany and the doctor left. They said they were going to the hospital. Be careful. I show the message to Dr. Mendez. They're here. I confirm. Aisha just warned me. The doctor nods and quickens his pace. We arrive at a room on the 4th floor in a quieter area of the hospital. A nurse greets us and helps settle Caleb into the bed. This room isn't registered under anyone's name, the doctor explains. You'll be safe here until Detective Reynolds arrives. He should be here in less than an hour. And what if they find us before then? I ask. Hospital security has instructions not to allow them access to this area, he replies. But just in case, lock the door from the inside and don't open it for anyone who isn't me or Nurse Lucia who just left. I nod, grateful for his help. Dr. Mendez leaves, promising to return soon with the detective. When we are alone, Caleb looks at me with a confused and frightened expression. Pop, what is happening? He asks. Why are we hiding from Mom? I sit down next to him, thinking carefully about what to say. I don't want to lie to him anymore, but I also don't want to overwhelm him with the whole truth at once. Caleb, there's something you need to know. I begin, taking his hand. Doctor, Mendez has discovered that your condition isn't what we were told all these years. Your spine is fine, son. There's no permanent damage. With therapy, you'll be able to walk normally again." His eyes open wide in astonishment. "Seriously? But doctor?" Sterling always said, "Doctor." Sterling was wrong. I interrupt gently. Or maybe he didn't tell us the whole truth. Caleb processes this information, his face showing a mixture of emotions. And Mom, she knows this. I take a deep breath. This is the hardest part. "I'm not sure what your mom knows," I reply cautiously. "But right now, we need to keep our distance until everything is sorted out. There are people coming to help us." "Is that why we're hiding?" he asks, increasingly alert. Mom doesn't want me to get better. His perception surprises me. He's always been a smart kid. "I don't know for sure, son," I reply honestly. "But we're going to find out together. I promise you, Caleb." Caleb is silent for a moment, as if processing all this information. Then he looks at me with determination. "I always knew, Pop," he says in a low voice. "Or at least I suspected. Sometimes when I was alone, I would try to move my legs, and I could do it. But when I told Mom, she got really scared. She told me it was dangerous, that I could hurt myself more. She made me promise never to tell you because you would worry too much." His words cut through me like a knife. While I worked day and night to care for him, believing I was giving him the best, my own wife manipulated him to keep him in that chair. "And then," Caleb continues, "every time I tried to talk about it, they gave me medicine that made me feel drowsy and confused. After a while, I started to doubt my own feelings." "What medicine, Caleb?" I asked, alarmed. "I don't know exactly. Some white pills that Mom said were for the pain, but that Dr. Sterling never mentioned when you were present." This revelation leaves me breathless. Not only have they kept him physically limited, but they have been drugging him to ensure his compliance. I'm about to respond when we hear agitated voices in the hallway. I immediately recognize Tiffany's demanding to see her son. The other deeper voice must be Dr. Sterling's. "You can't go in there," another voice says, probably a security guard. "Those are Dr. S. Mendez's orders." "I am the patient's mother," Tiffany screams. "I have the right to see my son." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I need direct authorization from Dr. Sation Mendez," the guard replies. Caleb looks at me terrified. I hug him protectively. "Don't worry," I whisper. "I won't let them hurt you anymore." The voices move away, but I know Tiffany won't give up so easily. If I've learned anything in these 2 days, it's that I don't truly know the woman I married. My phone vibrates. It's a message from Dr. 5. Mendez. "Detective Reynolds is here. We are coming to you. Keep the door closed." Only a few minutes later, we hear a soft knock at the door. "Mr. Johnson, it's Dr. Mendez. I'm with Detective Reynolds." I cautiously open the door. Dr. Mendez enters, accompanied by a man in his 52nds, tall and serious-looking, but kind. "Marcus Johnson, Caleb," the doctor introduces us. "This is Detective Esteban Reynolds. Pleased to meet you," the detective says, shaking my hand. "Dr. Mendez has brought me up to speed on the situation. What he tells me is very serious." "Can you help us?" I ask. "That's what we'll try to do," he replies. "But first, I need to ask you some questions to better understand what's going on." For the next half hour, the detective questions Caleb and me. Caleb tells him about the special pills his mother gave him, about how she always told him he couldn't try to walk, and about the fear they instilled in him of disappointing me if he mentioned feeling like he could move his legs. I tell him about the wire transfer receipts I found, the inconsistencies in the medical reports Dr. Mendez discovered, and Tiffany's strange attitude since we saw the new doctor. "All of this is very troubling," the detective finally says. "We have enough indication to start a formal investigation, but we need more concrete evidence." "What kind of evidence?" I ask. "The ideal would be to find documentation that proves the medical fraud and explains the motive," he replies. "If your wife and Dr. Sterling have been falsifying medical reports for 7 years, there must be a record somewhere. And above all, there must be a motive. Money. I suggest it's possible, but it seems strange to me." The detective says, "This type of fraud is very risky and prolonged to be just for money. There's usually something more." Dr. Mendez, who has been listening in silence, intervenes. Detective Reynolds, the security guards inform me that Mrs. Johnson and Dr. Sterling are still at the hospital trying to access different areas. Shouldn't we arrest them? We don't have a judicial warrant yet, the detective replies. We can't arrest them without concrete evidence, but we can keep them away from Caleb. He turns to me. Mr. Johnson, we need to access your house to search for evidence. Do you have any family or friends your son can stay with in the meantime? I think of my sister, Aisha, but after what happened, I don't want to put her at risk. Caleb can stay here at the hospital, Dr. Mendez suggests. He'll be safe and can continue his physical therapy. That sounds good, the detective approves. And Mr. Johnson, would you be willing to accompany me to your house to look for evidence? Of course, I reply, without hesitation. I'll do whatever is necessary. I approach Caleb and take his hands. My son, I need to go with the detective to resolve this. Will you be okay here with Dr. Mendez? Caleb nods, although I see fear in his eyes. Be careful, Pop, he tells me. Mom, she's not like we thought. I know, son, I reply, kissing his forehead. I'll be back soon. I promise. Dr. Mendez approaches us. Caleb will be safe here, he assures us. We'll have security guards at the door, and only authorized personnel will be allowed in. As we prepare to leave, my phone rings. It's Tiffany. The detective motions for me to answer and put it on speakerphone. Where are you, Marcus? Tiffany asks without greeting, her voice strained. We're worried about Caleb. He's in good hands, I reply calmly. Dr. Mendez says he can make a full recovery with therapy. There's a silence on the other end. What exactly had that doctor told you? She finally asks, her voice now cautious. The truth, Tiffany, I reply. That Caleb doesn't have any permanent spinal cord injury. That he can walk. That the medical reports have been falsified for years. Another silence, longer this time. Marcus, you don't know what you're saying. Her voice now sounds threatening. If you continue with this, there will be consequences for you and for Caleb. The detective signals me to keep talking. What kind of consequences, Tiffany? More lies, more pills to keep our son drowsy, or something worse? You don't understand anything, she replies coldly. You've never understood. Everything I've done has been for the good of this family. Keeping our son in a wheelchair for 7 years was for our good? I ask, unable to contain my indignation. How can you justify that? You have to listen to me, Tiffany insists. There are things you don't know that you wouldn't understand. Come home, and we can talk. The detective shakes his head, warning me not to agree. No, Tiffany, I don't trust you anymore. If you want to talk, it will be in the presence of the police. The police? Her voice breaks for the first time. You called the police? Yes, I confirm. Detective Reynolds is with me now. There's a murmur on the other side of the line, as if Tiffany is speaking with someone else. Then her voice returns completely different now. It sounds almost resigned. I understand. I guess it was inevitable, she says. But before you jump to conclusions, you should know it wasn't my idea. It was all planned by your Uncle Walter. This revelation leaves me stunned. My Uncle Walter is my father's older brother, a man I've barely seen in years. There was always tension between them, but I never knew exactly why. My Uncle Walter, I ask, confused. What does he have to do with all this? Everything, Tiffany replies. He orchestrated everything from the start. He promised us a lot of money, Marcus. Money we desperately needed after you left the garage to take care of Caleb. I don't understand, I say, feeling the world crumble around me. Why would my uncle want to do this to Caleb? There is another silence. And then, Tiffany's voice, now barely a whisper, because of your father's inheritance, Caleb is the only grandson, the only direct heir after you. If something happened to you and Caleb was declared incapable of managing his assets due to a disability, Walter would be next in line. My mind spins, trying to process this information. My father, who passed away 10 years ago, had left behind properties and a significant savings account. I inherited everything, but I never paid much attention to it because I was focused on my garage and my family. You're telling me that all these years of suffering for Caleb was for money? I ask incredulous. Not just money, Marcus. Tiffany replies. Your Uncle Walter always believed your father betrayed him in a family business deal. This was his revenge, destroying what your father loved most, his son and his grandson. Together, Detective Reynolds looks at me gravely. This confession is more than we expected to get over the phone. Mrs. Johnson, the detective intervenes. I recommend you turn yourself in voluntarily. What you've just confessed is very serious. We're talking about medical fraud, child abuse, conspiracy. I know, Tiffany interrupts, her voice now completely defeated. But I need you to understand that it wasn't all my idea. I was pressured, manipulated. A judge will decide that, the detective replies. Where can we find you? I'm in the hospital parking lot, she replies. Dr. Sterling. He just left. He said he had to destroy some documents. What documents? The detective quickly asks. The originals of the medical reports, the payment receipts, everything. He keeps them in a safe in his private office. There are also copies at our house in a secret compartment behind the closet in our bedroom. The detective looks at me, nodding. This information is crucial. We'll come for you right now, Mrs. Johnson, he says. Don't try to run. I won't, she replies. I'm tired of running. I just want to see Caleb one more time to ask for his forgiveness. A judge will decide that. The detective repeats and ends the call. We move quickly. Detective Reynolds calls his colleagues to arrest Tiffany in the parking lot and sends another team to Dr. Sterling's office. He and I head to my house to retrieve the evidence Tiffany mentioned. On the way, my mind continues to swirl with all the revelations. My Uncle Walter, whom I've barely seen in years. Revenge against my father Tiffany, manipulated or a willing accomplice. Everything feels like a nightmare I can't wake up from. Mr. Johnson, the detective says, interrupting my thoughts. I know this is extremely difficult for you, but you need to focus on the positive. Your son is well. He can recover, and now, you have the chance to rebuild your lives. I nod, grateful for his words. He's right. Despite all the horror, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Caleb can walk. He can have a normal life, and I'll be by his side every step of the way. When we arrive at the house, the detective insists on entering first, as a precaution. Once he confirms no one is there, he guides me to the bedroom I shared with Tiffany for more than 20 years. Following the directions, we move the closet and discover a panel that slides open, revealing a small compartment. Inside is a black folder filled with documents. The detective puts on gloves before opening it. It contains exactly what Tiffany described. Copies of the falsified medical reports, receipts for the wire transfers, and something else. Photographs of Caleb taken in secret at times when he tried to stand up when he thought no one was watching him. Next to these are notes detailing his progress, as if they were documenting that he indeed had no real paralysis. But the most shocking thing is a handwritten letter addressed to Tiffany and signed by my Uncle Walter. In it, he details the entire plan, how they would exploit Caleb's minor accident to turn it into something much more serious. How they would manipulate the doctors, how they would keep me in the dark, all with the ultimate goal of destroying Raphael's son, just as Raphael destroyed me. The detective reads the letter with a serious expression and carefully places it in an evidence bag. This is more than enough, he says. With this and your wife's phone confession, we have a solid case. My phone rings. It's Dr. Mendes. Mr. Johnson, good news. They've detained your wife in the parking lot, and the police just arrested Dr. Sterling as he was trying to leave the city. Caleb is safe and asking for you. Tell him I'm on my way, I reply, feeling immense relief. How is he? Surprisingly well, the doctor says. He's a very strong young man. The therapist says his progress is remarkable. He can already stand without help for several minutes. Tears of joy run down my cheeks when I hear this. My son, my brave son, is reclaiming what was stolen from him. Back at the hospital, I rush to Caleb's room. As I enter, I freeze in the doorway. Caleb is standing supported between the parallel therapy bars they've installed in his room, taking small, shaky, but determined steps. When he sees me, he smiles with a mixture of pride and hope that both breaks and rebuilds my heart at the same time. Look, Pop, he says, taking another step. I'm walking. I hug him tightly, letting the tears flow freely. They are no longer tears of sadness or anger, but of deep gratitude and hope. Yes, my son, I say to him, you are walking, and no one will ever stop you again. In the weeks that follow, while Tiffany, Dr. Sterling, and my Uncle Walter face trials for their crimes, Caleb and I begin to rebuild our lives. His progress in physical therapy is astonishing. The doctors say his body always had the ability to function normally. It just needed to relearn what they made him forget. We move to a small house in the country, away from the painful memories. I buy a plot of land where I set up a new, smaller garage, but it's ours. Caleb begins to take an interest in mechanics, and we spend hours working together on old engines. One afternoon, as we are sitting on the porch of our new home, Caleb asks me the question I know he's been holding on to for weeks. Pop, do you think I'll be able to forgive her someday? He doesn't need to specify who he means. We both know. I don't know, son. I reply honestly. Forgiveness is personal. It's something only you can decide if you want or can give. What I do know is that we can't live trapped in the past, in the pain they caused us. That would be letting them continue to control us even now. And Caleb nods thoughtfully. Sometimes I think about her, about how she was before all this, about the stories she read me when I was a little, about how she hugged me when I was scared. Those memories are yours, Caleb, I tell him. No one can take them away, and they aren't any less real because she later did terrible things. Have you forgiven her? He asks, looking into my eyes. I reflect for a moment before answering. I'm learning not to let hate and resentment consume my life, I finally say. I don't know if that's forgiveness, but it's the best I can do for now. Caleb smiles and looks back at the horizon where the sun is beginning to set. You know, Pop, I think I will be able to forgive her someday. Not for her sake, but for mine, because I want to be free, completely free. I look at him with pride and awe. My son, despite all he has suffered, or perhaps because of it, has developed a wisdom that goes far beyond his years. You are the bravest and wisest young man I know, Caleb, I say, putting my hand on his shoulder. He leans against me, and together we watch as the sun disappears over the horizon, giving way to a night full of stars. A new night in a new life, finally free from the chains they imposed on us for so long. In that moment, as I hold my son, who can now stand on his own, I understand that true suffering is not in the difficulties we face, but in allowing those difficulties to define who we are and what we become. Caleb and I chose to be free. We chose to live,